the night before the invasion. Lucia remembered the smell of jasmine mixed with smoke from a neighbor's barbecue. The air was thick as syrup, and the sound of the cicadas blended into a monotonous hum that drowned out the footsteps. She was lying on the top tier of the bed, clutching a stuffed coyote that her father had given her. The curtain, swaying in the breeze, cast spider-like patterns on the wall. Diego, her twin brother, was sleeping downstairs, with a blanket over his head, as if hiding from the world. Sleep did not come immediately. Somewhere behind the wall, in Camila's room, a floorboard creaked. Lucia froze, listening to the rustle of the old house. Guadalajara was asleep, but the house was awake, the rattle of pipes, the sighing of wood, the whisper of shadows. And then he came. At first, the edge of the sky outside the window turned pink, like the inside of a watermelon. Lucia sat down, clutching the toy to her chest. Crimson light poured through the glass, turning the walls the color of dried blood. There was nothing natural about it. It was the light of the apocalypse. A warning. A shadow appeared out of nowhere. Bald head like a full moon. The eyes are two pieces of ice, burning in the dark. His fingers, like the roots of a dead tree, rested on the windowsill. She screamed. The Ortiz family's house stood on the edge of a neighborhood where the streets were compressed into cobwebs, and the facades of the houses, painted yellow and terracotta, had long since tarnished under the sun. The backyard rested on the railroad tracks, overgrown with shimmicket bushes with poisonous flowers. His father, Eduardo, called this place La Boca del Diablo, the devil's mouth. People get lost here, he said, forbidding children to play by the fence. Freight trains crawled along the rails during the day, tramps and drug couriers at night. Sometimes bodies were found in the bushes. Eduardo worked in a building materials store during the day, and in the evenings he patrolled the streets in the uniform of a volunteer policeman. He carried a machete with him, not so much for protection as for intimidation. Evil is afraid of sharpness, he joked, sharpening the blade on the porch. Mother Isabel raised 3 children while working as a seamstress. Her room was littered with scraps of cloth, and a neon lamp screeched from the ceiling, luring moths. Camila, the eldest daughter, carried a quiet rebellion in her. At the age of 11, she was already smoking behind garages and painting her nails black. Lucia and Diego were inseparable. They spoke in a language that only the twins understood, with gestures, glances, and giggles in their palms. But that night, the connection was cut off. A week before the invasion, Camila found a doll on the doorstep, a rag figure with gouged eyes, wrapped in barbed wire, a joke from the neighborhood boys, Isabel decided, throwing it in the trash. But a day later, Camila, returning from school, noticed a pickup truck behind her. A rusty Ford F-150 with tinted windows crawled after her like a vulture. She turned into an alley, her heart pounding in time with her steps. The truck slowed down, and the window creaked down. "Queers un dulce, Nia," a man's voice rasped. She ran, hearing raucous laughter behind her. Eduardo returned late. That day, he detained a teenager with a bag of cocaine in his school backpack. "The rat's breed," he grumbled, setting the machete by the bed. Isabel turned out the lights in the house, but she was awake, sewing a dress for the holiday, Day of the Dead. In the silence of the night, the walls of the house began to speak, the creak of stairs, the rustle of clothes on plaster. An alien has sneaked through the devil's mouth. He swung the flashlight at the windows, the beam gliding over Camila's face. She woke up from the cold. The sash of the window opened slightly, letting in the smell of sweat and metal. "Papa!" Her scream split the night. Eduardo burst into the room with a machete at the ready. The stranger, dressed in black, rushed to the fence. The chase lasted for minutes. The man jumped over the rails, disappearing into the thicket of shimmicket. El later en Eduardo shouted, but the neighbors did not come out in Guadalajara. They were afraid to take revenge on the drug cartels. The family gathered in the living room. Isabel hugged the trembling twins. Camila bit her lips until they bled. Eduardo called the police, but the officer on duty just sighed, Mana. An hour later, when the moon disappeared behind the clouds, the shadow returned. Lucia was tossing and turning in bed when the glass rattled. The blue eyes flashed in the darkness like phosphorus. His fingers scratched the frame. His nails tapped on the glass. "Mom!" Her scream brought Dom to his feet. Isabel burst into the room, grabbing Diego. Eduardo rushed into the yard, but Shadow was already climbing over the fence. A snatch of raucous laughter drifted across the wind. The police arrived at dawn. No hey pruebas. They spread their hands, indicating the absence of footprints.